Hello and welcome to my channel. I have been working with runes over the last weeks, and yesterday I got a tarot deck, so I'm back to tarot, and I'm doing something that normally I don't do, which is a deck interview, because normally I take a deck, I pick a deck and I start working with it after really looking at the images and the pictures before. The package has already been opened, so I'm not going to make a whole unpackaging stuff or something like that. But first of all, let me show you the deck I'm talking about. It is an amazing deck. It's Penumbra Tarot. Ethony has written the book along with it, has been working with the one who drew the deck, and honestly, I am flashed. It's completely different from what I have, and I have a lot of different decks, but this is again completely different. And when I saw the first pictures, I knew that I was going for this deck. Normally, I have to admit, if I check on Ethony's decks, they are, and I'm a woman and I'm saying it, they are too female for me. I like to have a good balance between men and women about female aspects and male aspects. For me, it doesn't have anything to do with a gender problem that we have, but to take the words in their core, as it is seen in the 7 principles of the Kybalion, that a female aspect is creating something amazing out of one single spark, and the male aspect is that spark. So even a woman can have both parts in it, in her, and a man can have both parts in him. So for me, this is not something that I want to bring to the gender aspect of our situation, of our society today. That is something else entirely, and I think that we are working on solutions, and maybe one day we will find a solution so that every person finds his or her peace with that subject in him or herself, and not because of society, but because of the value of the person itself. I'm saying itself now, just to keep out of all this. And this one is quite balanced concerning both aspects, about both basic genders, so not human genders but basic genders, and also brings in beings from creatures from other realms, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. So first of all, the book, what I was amazed, I like that kind of touch that the book has, this a little bit, I don't even know how to call that in English. And I think it is very, very full of information. Each time also with the picture of the card, what I like, so I don't need to pick up the card again if I'm just looking for the information or the explanation. For example, I can use a completely different deck, and then I'm telling myself, wait a second, I read something in that and that book, and so I want to have the opportunity to pick up the book and say, oh, that was the way it was drawn in that deck. So I like that kind of booklet. It's not that typical small booklet, but it's also with personal explanations, and even along with every card comes a song title. So I guess that I will have a look at a lot of, not a look, a listen of a lot of songs during the next month. So, and along with it came, you often have those cards with a spread, and here it's the spread about the interview, and that is exactly the one that I'm going to use. Another look is at the card. First of all, they are just not too tall for my fingers, for my hands. The back of the deck is in relief. It's amazingly beautiful. I have two decks in relief that I had now one after another. They're amazingly beautiful. The cards don't have a border, so no white or black border, which I like, because for me it is easier to enter the card in a certain way. It is etched in that red golden tone. I hope that comes through. It's amazing. And well, already when I have them in the hands, I wonder how they will spread and how they will shuffle, because that is the next part of the next step. And then I will try my first interview with the deck. So let me just switch the cameras. So I'm going to put it there. I'm going to take it away later on to read the different steps. Different steps. I don't know what's going on here. So first of all, shuffling seems a bit difficult because of the size. I'm shuffling them the way there won't be any reversed cards or something like that. I personally don't read reversed. I'm taking a positive or negative aspect out of the position that I give a card in a spread, and that's the reason I'm not really seeing the idea of a reversed card. Especially last time I read about it, it was the reversed version is always well, the reversed meaning of the card. Funny enough, this is not for positive or negative cards, so I'm not really into this. But everyone, if it works for you, just do it. But if you start reading decks, reading tarot, and you find out that it is difficult for you to read reversed cards, then maybe that's a message that tells you that you're going to find different ways to get into the whole range of the subject of a card, from the most positive to the most negative position. So, concerning the reading, they're asking for 4 or 5 cards. I find out they are still a bit difficult to fan out properly, but they don't cling together. They are really very neat in their way to be handled, so they don't stick together or cling together, so that you get an easy fan anyway. They are just quite thick, but just perfect for me. So not too thick, but not too thin that you might be scared to bend them or break them. So I'm just going to concentrate on the 5 cards. So I have the way to always put the cards away, just to be sure that nothing happens to them. So I'm going to keep the book too, because maybe it's going to bring in a new idea. And I'm just going to me something to drink. And let's go for it. So the first question is, what kind of reading will you excel at? And I end up with the Fool. And I think this Fool has already a certain touch to the Magician. First of all, because this magic of the dice is in there. So for me, it's not that typical Fool of someone who is just walking openly into an abyss, to put it like that. I think as we make our our steps into our life, we can become the Fool over and over again, but in a more wise version, to say, okay, I can just leave behind what I have learned and I can just try something new, even if it's really a path I have never tried, even if it is something that I have never managed, or something that I have never dared. And so for me, this Fool, he is begging in a certain way for me to follow him. And maybe for the moment being, I am on the path to say, oh, this is not what I'm used to, but that's exactly what it is all about. So the mouse, what concerns me concerning mice, in the shamanic way of power animals, the mouse is a small animal and invites me to look at the details. So maybe my way of reading tarot, what I'm doing for years now, it comes easy to me, to read as I have always been reading, and I don't even need to take a look at a card. Sometimes someone is telling me, oh yes, I used my tarot and I had, I don't know, the Four of Swords, and I'm just like, yes, that means that and that, without even having a card in front of me, without even knowing what deck the person has. So for me, this is also a little bit maybe to find out again concerning details that I am maybe missing because I am too used to use tarot. So maybe this deck, as it is different from other decks that I have, as I said, for example, normally the Fool, you see him from the side and you see him walking close to this abyss, and here he is confronting me. And so this is maybe a good idea to use that deck to go more into the confrontation and to tell myself, yes, I know a lot about tarot, but that doesn't mean that there isn't anything to be learned anymore. I'm just checking if there's anything special that is yes. What did I just say? The wisdom, I just used that word. Wisdom of the Fool is to remain open to new experiences and points of view where things unfold. It is not a time to be overly analytical or controlling. This reminds me, for example, concerning me, that I still have 2 of the classes of the summer school that are open that I haven't finished yet. And I like to use them to be guided again, and not to do the things all on my own, but to be open and to let myself into the game. And I don't see the word game as something negative. Into the game, that I am not the one who is guiding, but that someone else is guiding me, and I have the possibility, the opportunity to go through the experiences of being guided, and in a way that maybe I haven't experienced yet. So anything else? No, that was the point concerning this card. The second one What are your strengths as a tarot deck? Elements of Swords. So the element of air. I like, first of all, wait a second, so that you can see it. I like, first of all, the idea of the feather on the card, because some time ago I made a ritual to for a young child, and as I used the elements for that ritual, I was sure that I wasn't going to use a knife or anything pointy around that child for the element of air, and so I also used feathers. So this idea is something that I think is amazing, and here to bring it into that idea of writing, for me is an amazing way to go on with my own thoughts. The element of air, I'm just going to check one thing concerning this, because it's not a typical page and so on, and queen and king that is used, but they are using other ways, so I'm going to check. So no, there is not. You can take it as the page of swords in a certain way. That's not the problem. Let me put it like that. For me, concerning the deck, it gives me the invitation to go further in the mind games. As I said before, with the Fool, I'm reading tarot for years, and even if I still evolve concerning certain aspects of the card that I start seeing in a different way, I find out that maybe the way I am using the cards can evolve again. And so this deck is going to help me in getting mentally more active, not in what I am doing with the cards, but how I am doing it with the cards. So that is the point that brings it up for me. And that is the page, it is again the experience. Comes along with this, with a Fool. It is the new experience. And as I'm saying, this is really the first deck I have into this direction. It's, well, I'm not really sure if there is another deck into that direction. And it will be a new experience for me to really simply experience a deck anew, learning as if I've never learned tarot before, maybe in other ways. There is one other deck that has this touch for me, that feeling for me, and that I'm going to use. That's the Goliath Tarot, but it's completely different from this. What are you here to teach me? The Throne of Cups, that's the King of Cups. And I have to smile a little bit. Concerning the King of Cups, there is a very personal experience for me with that card, and with a person that I link to that card, because it always came up that way. Actually, each time the King of Cups turned up, and it was and the person, other people were involved, it was a person who had problems with alcohol, a drinking problem. And I think when I see this card, so here it is not someone who has a cup in his hand and who is lost in his thoughts and lost in his glass of wine, but he's the king of the ocean, and he has a lot more to deal with and a lot more to handle and to cope with than just one glass at a time, but the whole ocean. I think this deck is here to, yes, to give me the opportunity to find my peace with that card and to see that card in a more positive way and in a more neutral way, that without this feeling each time that I get this card. So this for me is a very clear message. How can I connect best with you? And I have the Devil card. So maybe this is something that a lot of people don't get. Other ones who are working with tarot in a completely different way may understand absolutely what I mean. I love the Devil card. Okay, I don't love the way it is sometimes depicted. And for me, my favorite Devil card will always be the Legacy of the Divine of Ciro Marchetti, where you see the Fool on the card. So let's not forget, I have the Fool. The Fool on the card, who is turning away and who doesn't want to see what the Devil has to show him, and the Devil is patiently waiting behind with this hourglass shifted in a way that the sand cannot fall anymore. The time stands still and we have the time to look at our shadow. And in all this, I never forget that for me the Devil card is the shadow. And what I think is very important is that the shadow is not something negative, but we put things into the shadow that we consider to be negative and to be not good or even evil. And that the idea of the shadow comes from Carl Gustav Jung. So even if tarot and a lot of esoterical directions pick up that word and talk about shadow work, a lot of people forget where it comes from. And what I think is very important is that Jung brings it to the point that he says it is about finding those parts in our shadow, understanding them, and then integrating them as the positive part that they are, that neutral part that they are. And unfortunately, in my regions, a lot of people, when they talk about shadow work, they say, oh, we have evil parts inside of us, but we love them anyway. And that's bullshit, because we're still judging them. And this is about getting out of that judgment. And so, if I just explained what I said concerning my my experiences with the King of Cups, then yes, this is still some shadow work that has to be done concerning this, and I'm going to take the invitation. I'm going to accept the invitation. And the last but not least card. What card sums you up the best? And I get the Two of Cups. This is a way I like this Two of Cups because everything is intertwined, everything is interacting, and yet, for example, the glasses, they are out of this interaction. They are there, people can pick it up and offer, but they can also, like the two fishes, turn towards the other and maybe contemplating each other instead of things, instead of tools that I used. So if I'm taking this as the partnership, a mutual, respectful partnership, and one of the cards that always comes into my mind concerning Two of Cups is the one from Osho Zen Tarot, where you see two trees and the branches are intertwined, the roots are intertwined, but the trunks are free. And that is the way that I see this. We have parts of ourselves that are intertwined. Our actions, our feelings, our emotions might be intertwined, but we are still unique in this exchange. And this is a little bit how I see that. And okay, the tarot is a tool, but what is going on is inside of us, is inside of the beings, and not in the card. So I'm coming back to this card. I may have this feeling of judgment towards that card, but it's not the card that is important. It is my judgment and my experiences that I have to work with the tool, with the glasses, with the ritual of the glasses, or without the ritual. It has to be done, and it is something that is going to happen inside. And now that we here see the 8, a little bit the intertwinement of the 8 of the lemniscate, for me it is also the simplified version of our genetics, and only if we change it in our mind, so coming back to this card, only if I'm going into the shadow work, then it can change even in my genetics. That's where it's going to end up with in this. So this is the way I see the interview. For myself, I am quite amazed, because as I'm saying, this is the first time I'm tried something like that. And I hope you like my interpretation. Wait a second, just so that they can all be seen. I hope you like my interpretation. Maybe you have a different view on the cards, a different view of understanding the interview. As always, it's open to everyone. I thank you for watching. I thank Ethony for this amazing, not only Ethony, sorry, Eris and Ethony, for this amazing deck, for this amazing working together that you also did to offer people a potential amazing tool for shadow work. So thank you again, thanks for watching, and thank you too for this amazing gift.